Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really plunging into a story that sort of challenges everything you think you know about reality, faith, survival. Jan Martel's incredible novel, Life of Pi.
Right. It's one of those books that stays with you. And our goal here really is to go beyond just the plot, you
Yeah.
know, to pull out the big ideas Martel wove into this amazing story.
Definitely. It's all about endurance, belief, how we tell stories.
Exactly. And how those stories shape, well, everything.
So at the center, we have Piscine, Molitor Patel, Pi, everyone calls him, and the premise is just wild.
Mm-hmm.
An Indian boy, a shipwreck, and then 227 days stuck adrift in the Pacific. But the real hook, the thing that makes you go, wait, what? He's sharing his tiny lifeboat with a Bengal tiger.
Richard Parker. Yeah.
Richard Park. Okay, so let's dive into that. The start of this ordeal, the ship sinks.
Yeah, the Simpson, carrying his family and their zoo animals, goes down in a storm,
hmm
and Pi somehow ends up on a lifeboat. Just finds himself there.
But he's not alone initially, right? That's the strange part.
No, not at all. And the company is, well, less than ideal for a lifeboat scenario. You've got a zebra with a broken leg,
Ooh.
an orangutan, Orange Juice, who seems almost maternal, a hyena, which is just pure menace, and then hidden under the tarp for a bit,
Richard Parker, the tiger.
Richard Parker.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this almost surreal, allegorical menagerie thrown together.
And it doesn't stay peaceful for long, does it? The reality of survival kicks in hard.
Oh, immediately. It's
Yeah.
brutal. Nature takes its course, as they say.
Ah.
The hyena, well, it does what hyenas do. It attacks the zebra, then the orangutan. It's quite graphic, actually.
It really strips away any romantic notion of the wild, doesn't it? It's just raw survival.
Absolutely. Tooth and claw right there on the boat, and then just when you think the horror is the hyena.
Richard Parker emerges.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Tiger deals with the hyena, and suddenly the dynamic shifts completely.
It's just Pi and the tiger.
Just Pi and Richard Parker,
Okay.
alone on the vast ocean. And that's where the real story, the deep psychological journey, truly begins. How do you survive that?
Which is why this book is so much more than just, an adventure story or a survival tale. It digs deep into these huge themes.
Right. Faith, definitely. The whole idea of storytelling itself, and what truth even is.
Let's talk about faith first. Pi's approach is unusual, to say the least.
It really is fascinating.
Yeah.
He's not just one thing. He actively practices Hinduism, Christianity, and Islam, all at the same time.
Which causes some awkward moments with the religious leaders he meets before the voyage, right?
Oh, yeah. They each want him to choose their path. But for Pi, it's not about choosing one. It's about embracing the divine, the story, the betterment, as he sees it, in all of them.
And how does that play out on the lifeboat, that multi-faith perspective?
Well, I think it becomes his ultimate survival tool, in a way. Facing utter desolation, this spiritual sort of flexibility allows him to find meaning, find solace where maybe a more rigid view would just break. He pulls strength from all those traditions. It keeps him going.
That makes sense. It's like having multiple anchors in a storm. Okay. And then there's Richard Parker, the tiger. Symbolism alert. Right.
Huge symbolism alert.
Yeah.
Is he just a tiger? A literal 450-pound predator Pi has to manage.
Or is he something else? Like Pi's own fear, his savagery.
Exactly. That's the big question the book plays with. Richard Parker keeps Pi alert, forces him to stay disciplined, to provide for them both. In a strange way, the need to keep the tiger alive keeps Pi himself alive.
So the tiger is maybe a manifestation of Pi's own will to survive. The animal part of him he has to acknowledge.
Perhaps. Or maybe a representation of God in a terrifying, unpredictable form. The book doesn't give you an easy answer. Richard Parker is complex. He embodies the terror, yes, but also, weirdly, companionship, and even a strange kind of necessity. Pi says later he wouldn't have survived without him.
That idea that the most terrifying thing is also what saves you, that's powerful. And this ambiguity, especially around the tiger, it really sets up the ending, doesn't it? The big reveal.
Oh, absolutely. It culminates in this pivotal moment. After Pi is finally rescued, near death, he's interviewed by officials from the Japanese Ministry of Transport. They need a report. They need the facts about the sinking.
And Pi tells them his story, the one we've been reading, with the zebra, the hyena, Orange Juice, Richard Parker.
Right. The animal story. And the officials. Well, they find it unbelievable, too fantastical. They press him for a story they can believe. A story without animals.
And this is where it gets really interesting and quite disturbing.
Yes. Pi then offers them a second story. A completely different account of who was on the lifeboat.
No animals this time.
No animals. Instead, it's Pi, his mother, a sailor with a broken leg, and the ship's cook.
And the events that unfold in this second story are horrific. But they mirror the animal story, don't they? The brutality, the survival.
Chillingly so. The cook corresponds to the hyena, the sailor to the zebra, his mother to the orangutan, and Pi himself implicitly takes the role of the tiger. It's a story of human depravity, cannibalism, desperation, much uglier, but perhaps more plausible to the officials.
So Pi tells these two versions, and then he asks the officials, and by extension, asks us, the reader, the listener, a simple question.
He asks them which story they prefer. Which story is the better story?
Not which story is true, but which is better. And the officials, they choose the animal story.
They choose the story with the tiger, and Pi just thanks them and says, and so it goes with God.
Wow. So the ultimate choice isn't about literal fact, it's about belief, about the kind of story you choose to live by.
Precisely. It challenges you directly. What do you gravitate towards? The harsh, ugly reality, or something
Yeah.
more, something perhaps more meaningful, even if it seems impossible. It really makes you examine why we need stories.
It's such a powerful device, and clearly it resonated. The book won the Man Booker Prize, didn't it?
It did. Huge literary acclaim. It became this global phenomenon.
And then the film adaptation, directed by Ang Lee, that was a huge success too, won Oscars.
Yeah, and visually stunning. Ang Lee somehow managed to capture that fantastical yet believable quality of the animal story on screen. It brought Pi's journey to life for a whole new audience.
It really is one of those stories that it just sticks with you long after you finish the book or watch the movie.
Definitely, it lingers.
So wrapping up our journey through Life of Pi, it's this incredible exploration of endurance, belief, and just the sheer power of narrative, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's
Hmm.
about how we frame our experiences, how we make sense of the unbearable.
And maybe that final thought for you, the listener, ties back into that choice Pi presents.
Right. Think about the stories you encounter every day. News, fiction, history, even personal anecdotes. Life of Pi really pushes us to think about why we gravitate towards certain narratives over others. What does the story we choose to believe say about us, about our need for meaning, for hope, or even for illusion? It's a question about storytelling itself and its fundamental role in, well, making life bearable.